Hey, what's going on? Look, my name is Jared Walker, and listen, if you didn't know that, only reason I tell you that is because that's what people fail to comprehend my name and how to say it. Jared, not Gerard, not Gerard, Jared Walker. Now, here's the thing. You ever find yourself stuck in a situation that you've been in before? Notice the key words there, stuck in a situation you've been in before. That means you never left it, fam. That means you have constantly found yourself going in circles and circles and circles. Would you like to know how you can transform your mind and transform your life and transform your habits and the patterns that are actually overcoming rather than finding yourself overwhelmed? Well, I got something for you today. Look, here's the thing. Did you know that most people are afraid to simply get on camera? Yeah, there is like 75% of people are afraid to be on camera. They are also afraid to actually get on stage. This stage fright thing is crazy. Getting behind the camera is crazy. But what if I told you that you are being viewed by many people and you have no idea? So exactly what you are afraid of is exactly what you have the power and ability to overcome. This is what I mean by that. There's a past that we all have. Everyone has a past, but there's power in your past. And how do I know that? Because I know that you've accomplished things in your life that most people are unaware of because you don't even talk about them. You overlook them. And so many people find themselves stuck with overwhelm that they forget that they've already overcome. Is that you? Are you ready to overcome the things that you found yourself overwhelmed with for so long? If that's you, type that's me in the chat because we're about to get right into it. Look, the value of your past, the value of your pain is something that most people tend to overlook, whether it's their own or someone else's. And it's funny because we watch other people go through struggles and go through processes and problems and all of that stuff, yet we cheer them on and we clap, clap, clap. We give them applause and whatnot. We even hit them with the DJ horn. You know what I mean? We do all of that as we watch them overcome, not realizing that somebody been watching you do the same thing. And while you've been downtrodden, being like, well, it's just me, they've been watching you seeing that, man, if they can do it, I can do it. If you are unaware that you have been providing and producing hope in the hearts and the minds of many, I need you to know that you got this, fam. How do I know that you got this? Because you still here. I say this daily because I want people to understand that is the truth. It's a fact. Not only are you still here in spite of what you've gone through, in spite of the overwhelming scenarios and situations that you have experienced, but you are still here in spite of somebody else is assuming that you wouldn't be. And a lot of the time, the person that has assumed that you wouldn't be here and you wouldn't get through, it's been you. How many times do you have to prove yourself wrong before you accept the facts? The fact that you have life in your body, the fact that you have enough. I mean, so many people say, well, I don't have enough. I just feel like I need more and I need more and I need more. What if you are already operating in the abundance of the more that you didn't know that you already had? Oh, man. I want to free you today. Did you know that the actual life that is in your body is the same life that was anticipated and expected for at the very least of 8 to 9 months in the womb of the woman that gave you birth? Now check this out. You were given life, you were birthed, and there were people who were anticipating and expecting your arrival. Did you know that there were enemies that were also waiting on you to get here and they already had it all set up? They were waiting for you to fail and fall. And literally what they were setting you up for is the very thing that some of you are still falling for. See, there's this thing called a belief. A belief is an idea that you hold so significant you perceive it to be true, even if it's not. So that means that the only remedy to that deception is truth, because the truth sets you free. Therefore, a lie sets you up. And if you've been set up for failure and you didn't know it, now it's time for you to take back the power that you already have. What's that? The power to change your mind. Did you know that you have the power to change somebody else's mind? You've done it before. I'm not telling you anything that's some rah rah woo woo stuff. You've already done it. How many lives have you impacted just by being you and you didn't even understand? How did I do this? I didn't think it. What, me? How? When? Why? Listen, 10 years ago, somebody told you something and you just couldn't believe it. Like, wow, they came and told me that I did this and I didn't realize it. I was just being me. Yeah. Did you know that there are more people that haven't told you how much you've helped them and you've impacted them and you've inspired them than there are people who have told you? You have receipts about being the person that has already overcome and helped others overcome. Did you know that? Am I telling you any lies? Am I saying something that you can't resonate with? Am I telling you something that's just like, Jared, what are you talking about? That's not true. I've never experienced that. Because if so, I get it. I got it. But if that's not the case, I want you to know that you have helped people in the past overcome things that they did not know that they would need you to go through what you went through in the past to show up and provide them with perspective that they can still keep going. You have produced and provided hope in the lives of many people who were waiting on somebody like you to show up, and you showed up at the right time in the right moment, and they didn't know that you would be there, and neither did you. But guess what? You were there. You showed up. Now, what would happen if you decided to get intentional about showing up? What would happen if you decided to get intentional about being the person that has overcome these things and stop finding yourself so overwhelmed with what it is that you are believing that are in the actual household of lies? It's time to break out of that window. It's time to jump out the door. It is time to run and take off and understand that not only do you have this, but God got you. God got you. Look, there are a lot of people who have experienced different situations in life that are unfair. And I don't agree with the things that have happened to them. But this is what I do know. I know that because they are still here, that there are those who needed them to experience those experiences just so they can be understood. What if you were the great empathizer? What if you were the person who had to go through scenarios and situations that were undesirable just for you to be able to show up for somebody else? Would it be worth it if it was your own children? Would it be worth it if it was your own grandchildren? Would it be worth it if it was your own great grandchildren? You know, you only got to be great one time to impact somebody that you might not get to meet. I'm going to let that soak in. Many people get so caught up in the things that they have experienced and they don't like that they forget that there's somebody else that don't like it either. And they're going through it, except you've already gotten past it. So all the things that overwhelmed you at one point, now you have evidence that they can overcome it. Why not embrace that? Why not embrace the message that you are an overcomer? Why not embrace the fact that not only have you overcome things that other people are still trying to figure out, but you also have all types of little neat tips and tricks of how it is that you could help somebody to overcome specific things that they did not even know existed. How many times have you gone on YouTube or on TikTok or IG or something and you saw like, what in the world, man? Listen, I wish I'd have known that a long time ago. Where has this been all my life? I see it all the time. I see all of these things. My wife come show me these hacks and stuff. I'm like, really? And some of them ain't hacks. It's just using things the way that they were meant to be used. But that's another subject. Listen, did you know that there are things that you have the ability to say and speak in such a way that only you can say it and speak it? That if somebody heard you or when they hear you, they're literally going to find themselves probably breaking down in tears. Because it's been years since they heard somebody say something in the way that they needed to hear it. That means you're useful, fam. That means the things that you found overwhelming were actually producing the usefulness that was always inside of you to begin with. And if you are useful, that means you are fruitful. And if you are fruitful, that means you are literally operating in nothing but results. Stop taking your results for granted, fam. Listen, fruit is full results understood in time. There you go with that acronym. So if there are full results understood in time that people can clearly and plainly see in your possession, did you know that all you got to do is be you? You got to be nobody else. You don't need permission to be anybody but yourself. And you got to give you that permission. See, many people downplay themselves because they believe lies about themselves that somebody else taught them to believe. Yes, I said that, taught them to believe. To teach means to cause to learn. Someone calls you to learn lies about yourself that you repeat on replay on a day-to-day basis and wonder why you keep going in these circles that you don't want to be going in. You're stuck and you don't have to be, but that's because you keep telling yourself the things that are non-truth. That's called a lie. And if the truth sets you free, but a lie sets you up, that means you have to get up out of that pit of misery and walk out into the actual light that is already waiting for you because you've seen it for so long. Did you not know that it was available to you too? It belongs to you. That's why it's there. That's why it's so clear within your perception. That's why it's so clear within your grasp. But see, the darkness that we come from is not all bad either. The things that we experience in the dark. I remember going through situations in life where I did not know I was going to be in the midst of somebody that needed me to be there. Because truth be told, I ain't had no business being there. I remember when I was a young man, living in places and dwelling in places and spaces with people who were doing no good. I'm talking about drug dealers, drug addicts, prostitutes, pimps, all types of stuff. You be like, what, Jared? You? Yes, those people. And those are the same people I have a heart for. Why? Because if you don't ever get to experience certain situations and scenarios, that means you can never, ever understand where people have come from and come through. Just because you got through don't mean they're not still going through. Just because you got through it don't mean they not still going through it. And if you've gotten through what someone else is going through, then you, my friend, are the answer that they are looking to. That's why they trust you, because they can recognize that you've been somewhere before, and they can see an essence of who it is that you used to be. Don't take all of that negative from the past, so you perceive and believed it to be, as something that's not helpful. I remember being amongst all types of people that were doing things that I dare not speak on. However, that ain't me. I ain't participated in none of that stuff either. However, based off of my foundation, I've been able to build other people up. I don't just speak the way that I speak because I'm this kind, cool guy. I can flow and go and do all of that stuff for show and all of that. But at the end of the day, the reason I speak the way that I speak, because I come from a place that seems quite bleak. I come from many different backgrounds, and nobody really comprehends that unless I explain that to them. Here, I'll give you a story. When I was a young man, I was dwelling with someone I value and I cherish that are no longer here, and they stole from me. They lied to me. They put me in dangerous situations and scenarios, and now they are no longer here. However, that actual experience that I had caused me to be able to see when somebody else is going through, somebody who may be wrestling and struggling with what's called substance abuse. So instead of being the person who gets angry when someone is doing something that is outside of their normal character, I understand that that's not them, fam. I get it. Oh, what? What, you want more stories? I remember being in a situation where I was in my vehicle and I was driving to a location I had no idea was somewhere I had no business being, but I was used and manipulated to be there. So whenever I actually took the person to the place that they needed to get to, so they said, I found out that this same individual had me going to a place that could have had the police pull me over and lock me up, and I would have got time. If this was about 60 years ago, I'd have got 100 years for that person being in my car based off of what they brought into my vehicle. So I know what it feels like to have to be the person who is put in a position that you didn't ask to be in, yet go through the process of forgiving. You can't ask somebody to forgive something at a high level if you've never forgiven anybody at a high level. Yes, that is the prerequisite. Yes, that is the right way to go about things and the right thing to do. However, understand this. If you ain't been in a certain situation, you can't tell nobody what to do in that situation. You don't know. I remember when my father passed away, I was constantly receiving phone calls of people saying all types of things. And in all honesty, I appreciate the calls and I appreciate the text messages. But I honestly did not want to hear what most people were saying, because they were saying a bunch of cliche stuff. You didn't know my pops. You didn't know anything about him. So you're trying to comfort me, but in the process of trying to comfort me, you are actually confusing me. You don't know that's what you're doing. So I know what it's like to be the person who has just lost a parent and got all of these people speaking in ways that they don't understand is causing more hurt than help. I get it. But if you've never been in a position of developing the empathy, then you cannot comprehend somebody else's misguided sympathy. You don't get it if you ain't ever been in it. So I understand what it's like. I get it. I've been there, done that, got a t-shirt and need to go and make a couple more so I can sell them. So that t-shirt can say overcomer. Stop allowing yourself to be overwhelmed by the past. Use the past to propel you into a future that's worth being in. And guess what? You've already done it. You didn't do it intentionally, but God did it for you. He brought you from where you were and put you where you at, and now you are useful. You just got to be intentional about that fruit that you produce, fam. I'm just saying, I understand what it's like to be amongst people that ain't no good to nobody, but seem for whatever reason they like you and they love you and they seem to be so good to you, but because of association with them, everybody assume the worst about you. So if I had to remove myself from those individuals so that I didn't get a bad reputation by being attached to them, my legacy did not need to be attached to somebody else's foolishness. Legacy is life examples gained after considering you. I don't want to be nobody else's reference point of who not to be around because of who I chose to be around. So I know what it's like to leave people alone that you genuinely care about. I also know what it's like to lose people that you value and cherish. I mean, I understand, fam. I know what it's like to get into a relationship and not know what the heck you doing. I know what it's like to get married and not have all the answers. I know what it's like to be the fool of a husband the next day to mess up his own situation with his relationship with his wife, only to come back around to be, I'm just going to tell it. I understood that I was being foolish, and it took 7 years. I know what it's like to be feel like you're being a terrible father. I know what it's like to feel like being an absent father. I also know what it's like to have an absent father. I know what it's like to be raised by another man. I know what it's like to feel rejected. I know what it's like to feel neglected. I know what it's, I know that you feel so many things that you go through and don't nobody understand. But the truth of the matter is there are those who do. I understand. Many of you, I understand you. I know what it's like to be broke. I know what it's like to feel like, man, I ain't doing nothing right. It seems like nothing's working out. I know what that feels like, but I also know the opposite side of that. I also know what it feels like to be the friend that ain't leaving nobody. I also know what it feels like to love somebody when they feel like they don't deserve to be loved. I also know what it feels like to be the person that feel like they don't deserve to be loved. You got to be on both sides of the coin. Why am I telling y'all all of this? I'm telling you this because you need to understand what you are going through is a privilege, especially if you still living. The privilege in that situation is the fact that not only are you still here, but you have an opportunity to make different decisions. And the moment you change your mind, you literally just transform somebody else's life. Some people need to get out of situations just so they can lead others away from where it is that they used to stay. You don't have to remain in an undesirable relationship. Listen, I know what it's like to grow up and hear all these religious statements and sayings and you got to do this, you got to do that. Listen, I understand. I also understand a whole lot about the Bible. Hey, I'm going to break somebody's heart today. Listen, though you do need to honor your parents, you do not have to obey your parents. All y'all Christians, all y'all believers and everything, look, I'm telling you right now, because I'm one of them. You do not have to obey your parents outside of the Lord. It says, honor your mother and father in the Lord. Children, obey your parents in the Lord. You don't have to be held to the bondage of doing things that are outside of what you choose to do outside. Like literally, if you know what's right, then you do right. In spite of those trying to hold something over your head, say, well, I'm your mother, I'm your father, I'm this, I'm that. Hey, listen. You walk according to wisdom, and wisdom says, do what God say, not what that person says. You honor your parents, absolutely, but you don't have to find yourself trying to obey them. And here's another thing. Those are for children that are still being raised, cultivated, disciplined, discipled, and all of that. You do not have to think that I got to obey my mother or father when you are an adult. It don't work that way, fam. There's so many missing pieces to these things. Why did I even bring that up? Because some people are holding fast to the deceptions and the lies that they were taught and told when they were children, and here they are as adults and they've never questioned them. If you don't ever question your beliefs, I'm gonna tell you right now, you might be believing a lie. And if you are believing a lie, here's the more dangerous thing. You may value a lie. And if you value a lie, that means your intentions are set towards a lie. If you are valuing a lie, your intentions are set in a lie, towards a lie, you believe a lie, then that means your expectations are attached to a lie. That's a vibe. Values, intentions, beliefs, and expectations. That's a whole vibe, fam. That means that if you value deception, You intend to do deception. You believe it literally deception, and you are expecting deception. Your expectation is a deception, and you don't even know it. You are a self-fulfilling prophecy every time things go the way that you expect them to go, even though that route is something that you didn't even desire or want. This is what happens when you don't question your desires. This is what happens when you don't question your beliefs. This is what happens when you don't question your values. This is what happens when you don't question your intentions. This is what happens. I've seen so many people fall for the lies of it. You know, the Bible say the love of money is the root of all evil. No. It says that the love of money is the root of all kinds of evil. And I've heard so many say, well, you know, money is the root of all evil. No, that's not true. That's not what it says. But because they believe those lies about money, they find themselves broke for the rest of their lives, thinking that the very thing that you have the privilege to ascertain and obtain is not good. So what you believe about something that is good and useful for you, you deny it. Therefore, you don't want it because you believe lies about it. Well, what happens when you believe lies about yourself and you think that you're not wanted, and you disregard and discard the truth about you? That's a problem. If you're believing the lies about yourself, that's why you're overwhelmed. If you're believing lies about others, that's also why you are overwhelmed. You got to question your beliefs. This is how you go from overwhelm to overcoming. Let's question some beliefs. Let's question this belief. What is it that you have been through in life that has put you in a position to be useful that you have not embraced yet? What is it that has produced fruit inside of you that you don't want? You don't want no parts in it because you believe lies about it. You think that what you went through wasn't worth it, even though you're worth it. You went through it, you still here, and there are people who appreciate you for going through what you've gone through because they get to see your scars. And if they see your scars, that's evidence that their wounds can be healed. What is it that you are possibly running from that somebody needs you to run towards because they're there? What is it that you have to offer that you're withholding? You're hiding, and you're not offering to anybody because you don't want to talk about it. You don't want nobody to know that about you. What is it that you have found yourself in the better position of than you remember? That was not the case at one point. I could tell stories about myself all day. I remember being that fool out here in these streets, doing all types of stuff that my mom and daddy would never be proud of me for. I remember being that guy, but I also remember being the person who was changing the lives of those who were around him while he was out there. And they always said, something different about you, bro. This ain't you. And I always knew, no, this ain't me. I'm not doing the stuff that y'all doing. I'm just around y'all. Maybe the reason many of y'all are around the people you are around is because you're so used to chaos and you're comfortable with it. And the problem with life is whenever you get comfortable with chaos, you find yourself disharmony. And disharmony is dysfunction. And when you're living outside of harmony, then you're living in chaos. That means there's no order. What would happen if you decided to bring order to the chaos that's in your life? By simply questioning your beliefs and finding the answers that are always available to you. What would happen if you set your focus on the things that matter most and the truth was always in front of you so that you can actually be set free by the lies being put aside? What would happen? What would happen if you took your past and you chose to value what you've been through and you chose to help somebody else get through? Would that be useful? Would that help you feel useful? What would happen? As a matter of fact, what would happen if you took back the power that was already yours? Power is the possession of the qualities to do something or get something done. What would happen if you took it back? What would happen if you took your power back? What would happen if you took not only your power back, but you took ownership? What would happen if you not only took ownership, but you took advantage of opportunities? And what would happen if you utilized the resources that are inside of you to help somebody else? What would happen? What would happen if you chose to listen to what Jared is telling you right now? And I told you, listen, you got this, fam. You still here for a reason. There's purpose attached to your life. Whether you woke up on purpose or not, you still woke up with purpose attached to your life. Would you believe me? Do you believe me? Do you believe that I'm telling you something that's of truth? That's of value? Do you believe that you are somebody that is not only worth living for, but you're also somebody worth dying for? And if you're somebody worth living and dying for, then you're somebody that's of value at such a high level that it's somebody that's looking for you and to you, and they are also seeing through you, and they're wondering why you are not offering what you have. What if you stop withholding what it is you had to offer? What if your story was the gold that somebody else was seeking? What if the gold that you had to give to somebody that wanted it was so valuable that it will cause them to have a domino effect in other people's lives? All because of you. All because you chose to be willing to be useful for the purposes that God has placed on you. Would it be worth it? Would that lifestyle be worth it? Would it be worth it to be somebody that is so useful that others value you even when you ain't around? And all it is your story. What would happen if you got intentional about leveraging your story to assist others in changing their life? Would it be worth it? Would it be worth it if you actually took your story and all the things that you've experienced that you don't want to talk about, but has actually put you in a position to be the person that you are? What if you took those things, those conditions, the conditions that you have experienced only condition you for the intentions that God has already placed on you? I'm dealing with health issues. I don't even talk about it online like this, but I'm just going to straight up tell you, I have a condition, and my condition is conditioning me for my intentions that God has already assigned to my life as well. So I get to operate in purpose, on purpose, even though I'm going through what I'm going through. I have no excuses. What about you? Your health good? Your family safe? You married? You single? You got what you need? What's your excuse for not being intentional about moving forward? What's your excuse for not doing the things that you know you could and should and would do if you didn't know how much time you had? Listen, wake up call. You don't know how much time you have. You don't know how much time you have. I can tell you how many hours you got in a day. That's 24. I can tell you how many minutes. That's 1,440. But did you know that 70% of a whole year is 6,132 hours? What's funny about that is 1% of 70 years is 6,132 hours. What if I told you that you can get so intentional with your life that if you make it to see 70, that you could have been intentional about 1%, and that 1% could have transformed so many lives that you would literally have your head spinning? What if I told you you were already winning? What if I told you that the word win means to strive for, to toil, to struggle through, to consistently move forward in the face of perseverance being produced within you, even though you ain't quite got it yet? What if I told you that you are already winning just by not giving up? What if I told you, you can go look that up etymologically. The etymology of win is to struggle forward, toil, to continue to move forward even though you are ready to give up. That is by definition what you are doing if you ain't gave up yet and you still here, fam. You are winning by definition. That means you are winning by default. What are you going to do with your wins though? Are you going to take them and just put them on the shelf and let nobody else see them? Or are you going to show your wins? You're going to show the fact that you champion it. Are you going to show the fact that you are still here with purpose, on purpose? You are intentional about your life and your time and your legacy. Because if you can be intentional about your time, you can be intentional about your life. Because the thing about that is, time and money clearly ain't the same. You run out of money, you can get some more. You run out of time, it's game over. Well, if you run out of time, you also ran out of life, because it's game over then too. So what would you be willing to do if you knew you had it in you to change and transform your life and somebody else's by default, just by stepping into the power that God has already given you? Would it be worth it? Matter of fact, would it be worth it to take your story and actually monetize your story? What if you were able to monetize that which caused you to be traumatized at one point? What if you can transform your traumas into treasures that can be transcribed and put in somebody else's hands or in their eyes and be able to see and set them free because they see that you have something to say? Would it be worth it to speak then? Well, I'll tell you what, I wasn't even coming on here to do this. If you want to overcome the things that have been overwhelming you as it pertains to your story, I want you to do this. I want you to type "that's me" in the chat. And if you are willing to actually overcome the challenges that you have already found yourself overcoming, but with purpose, on purpose this time around, the things that used to overwhelm you, if you are willing to overcome the things that used to overwhelm you, type "that's me" in the chat. And I tell you what we can do. We can take the very story that you have and we can create an intentional memory behind that. And what is that? Memory. Music enhanced messages originally recorded by you. Somebody need to hear your message, fam. Somebody needs to hear that you've gotten through and gone through what you've gone through and gotten through, and they need to see that somebody else has done it, because sometimes that's the problem. They ain't got nobody around them who feels like they're an overcomer. And if you hang with 9, you're going to be the 10. So there are many people who are believing lies about themselves because of the environment that they are in. What if you were the environment that they got introduced to and it changed their whole perspective and perception of all of life? Would it be worth it? I heard something today. He was a young man. He was doing a TED talk, a little kid. And he said, great communicators are literally the byproduct of being great readers and writers. So great readers become great writers, and great writers become great communicators, and great communicators become great persuaders, and great persuaders create great societies. What if there was a society in you? What if there was a community in you that was waiting on you to take exactly what it is that you value, that you actually choose to value, meaning those things that you devalue and you want nothing to do with? What if they were waiting on you to value what you've gone through so that you can help others do the same? Listen, if you feel like you got power, you got ability, you got skill, and you got time, that's a past. Then it might be time for you to get intentional about it. Because the stories that are inside of you do not need to go to the grave. You need to take them and put them to use so that the people who are waiting on you to be saved can be that. Look, I'm going to get up off of here. I feel like I done ran my mouth long enough, but I just want you to know, you got this, fam. If you don't take me up on nothing, take me up on this. You still here. And what you experienced 12 years ago, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 6 months ago, or whatever, I've been wrestling with things in my life for the past year now, and I'm still here. I have no reason to doubt and assume anything is going to happen for the worse, only because I've been seeing everything happen for the better in the midst of the struggles that I've been going through. And as I said, listen, you win if you still here and you ain't gave up. So if you've decided not to be the person who gives up, you've decided to be the person that continues to move forward. You've decided to be the person that has the value to offer and you choose to offer it. You've decided to be the person that's going to take your story and your narrative and be intentional with your legacy and go save somebody else's life. What if the person that comes from you is the person that comes from your actual groin, your loin? Meaning those who come from you, your seed. What if the legacy that's going to come from you is going to need you to get intentional about this story that you have to offer? What if the story that you have to tell is the one that's going to help them to prevail? Like I said, if that's you, type "that's me" in the chat. And what I mean by that is not, oh, that's me, I'm struggling. No. That's me, and I'm ready to change my life, and I'm ready to take a hold of my narrative, and I'm ready to take control of my narrative, and I ain't gonna let nobody else tell my story out of context, because you deserve to be heard just in context so that you can go and help somebody else do the same. If you're tired of overwhelm and you're ready to overcome, listen, do it. You got this, because you've been doing it. You just ain't been as intentional about it. Outside of that, look, y'all stay focused. And remember, whether you woke up on purpose or not, you still woke up with purpose attached, and I will go as far as to say assigned to your life. But what are you willing to do with that? You willing to be intentional about it? If so, let's connect. Much love, y'all. Stay focused.